My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Alex Johnson and Dorothy Anger. Alex serves as the executive director of Newton at Home, an organization dedicated to helping older adults stay socially connected, intellectually engaged, and active in the life of the Newton community. Dorothy is one of the founders of Newton at Home, a longtime member and volunteer. She's also the author of the recently published book entitled Women of Courage and Conviction: The Untold Stories of Five Extraordinary Newton at Home Members. This powerful collection of stories highlights five women from Newton at Home whose leadership, resilience, and moral clarity help shape social change. During the program, we're finding out why and how the book came about, and in the process, come to better understand and appreciate these women's remarkable stories and how honoring these stories strengthens community, deepens understanding, and reminds us that courage and conviction are timeless forces for progress. Let's start by meeting Alex and Dorothy and then hearing all about Newton at Home and Women of Courage and Conviction. Welcome. So delighted you're both able to be here.
Thank you so much for having us, Jay. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you, Jay. I'm very excited about doing this.
Oh, eager to hear more about both ventures. Really was inspired by your book, Dorothy, and just know a little bit from being a resident of Newton about Newton at Home. So would love to find out more. And to that end, Alex, would you please start by sharing, for those of us not as familiar, maybe briefly some of the history, the mission of Newton at Home, please?
Sure. So we are a small volunteer-powered membership organization. We're a nonprofit in Newton. We are part of what's called the Village Movement, which actually started in Boston 25 years ago this year, and now is spread across the entire country. And the idea of the Village Movement and of Newton at Home is to really harken back to the sort of old world style of living where neighbors knew each other, helped each other, really just there was a really strong support system in place for people, especially as they aged, because in our current society, as we know, as people age, they tend to sort of get pushed to the wayside, which is terrible. And people's worlds end up shrinking, especially if they stop driving, they become very isolated. And as we also know from the pandemic, social isolation is absolutely abysmal for people's health, physical, cognitive, mental, all of that. So our goal is really it's kind of multifold. The most important thing at our core is we're a social organization whose goal is to bring people together, provide support, and build relationships between those in our community. And the way that we do that is by helping older adults to age in place. So we have a full calendar of social programs that are in person, virtual, hybrid, every month, all throughout the month. And then our incredible volunteers provide services to all of our members. So the biggest one that people come to us for that we're probably best known for is transportation. So
Mm.
rides to doctor's appointments, to the grocery store, to visit family, to go to fun events, any of those things. But also any sort of non-medical kind of in-home thing. We provide a lot of that. So like handy workers to come to your house to help with minor repairs, technology
Mm.
assistance, friendly visits, check-in phone calls, help taking barrels to and from the curb. All those things that just as people get older make it a little bit more difficult to stay in your home if you start having more health issues or mobility issues. And rather than, feeling like you might need to start looking at assisted living or really depend on
Mm.
family more when sometimes family doesn't live close by or works full time or has kids, we're there to really be able to help provide that support so people can live their best lives so they can be happy, age with dignity on their terms, which is a little bit of help from those around them who really care about them and build that nice organic support network for them.
For the sake of time, just a few words on these images that we're going to share coming up of what we're seeing related to Newton at Home, please.
These are just from some of our recent programs. So over the summer, we had an Elvis impersonator come who was actually amazing. His voice was perfection. My mom actually came to that one, who is a very big Elvis buff, and she had her socks blown off. And actually, Shlomit is there, who is one of the women featured in Dorothy's story, who she'll talk about. This, I'm honestly, I don't entirely remember which of our events this was from. This might have been from when Dr. Drew Gilpin Faust came to speak with us about one of her recent books. And it's
Mhm.
just nice seeing people are in our community, just chatting, smiling, laughing. This too was, I think, from one of our volunteer appreciation breakfasts, which was over Halloween. So Shimiso is actually one of our staff members who's just fantastic and brings so much to the team. I think this might actually be also from a volunteer event, just members and volunteers having fun. Sally Craig is
Nice.
another one of the women from Dorothy's book.
And there's President Faust.
Yes, yes. And Sally Craig actually was kind enough to be the moderator for that event, and she did a fantastic job.
Terrific. And this is a very informative photo.
Yeah, this is actually the women from the book. This was Dorothy was kind enough to host a little get together for us because so many of the women hadn't actually met each other before. So it was a chance for them to meet in person, get to know each other, and just all of us to sort of talk about the experience and enjoy each other's company on a beautiful day.
What inspired Newton at Home to support a book project like Women of Courage and Conviction?
I don't know how we could have not, honestly. I mean, when Dorothy came to me with this, so she had come up with it a couple of years before and had initially brought it to our prior director, Maureen Grannon, who told her to go for it. And then there was a period, Maureen had retired, there was no director, we had more people come in. And so when I started there, this was actually back when I was still just working part-time, and Dorothy brought it to me, and it just seeing something that was created by a member and volunteer of the organization out of interactions that came from being a part of the organization. These were women that she'd all had met through
Mhm.
Newton at Home. And it really exemplified, I think, just the heart of who we are, of building these friendships, of getting to know these people in your community, of really taking the time to build relationships and understanding and seeing just such an incredible project come out of that was so
Terrific.
special to me. And that was something that I felt we really needed to do something with and help support. And I'm really glad that we were able to do so.
Most definitely, most definitely. Dorothy, welcome. Before we hear your input on how the book came about, I just have to say, having read it, so inspiring and engaging the way you have told these women's stories. Highly recommended for viewers and others. Would you just briefly, before we hear about these extraordinary women, just share what motivated you to take on this type of project?
Well, thank you, Jay. There were a couple of factors. One is that I had met these women, three of these women, through my own volunteer work. I was a driver for Newton at Home and a shopper also, because we did grocery shopping for people. And so I had quite a glimpse of what kind of people they were just from my service to them. You know, you do a long medical ride into Boston from Newton, and you have a chance to chat, and women chat, they talk. And so we got to know each other a little bit, and I said, wow, these are interesting ladies. And then Maria was recommended by Maureen to me as another interesting lady who I didn't even know. And Sally Craig I knew from all her volunteer work at Newton at Home. So that was the group that was put together. But for me, it was also a challenge, a personal challenge.
Hmm.
I had been a promotional writer for my career, grant writer, promotional writer, but I'd never done anything like this. I'd never written essays, biographies, memoirs, stories. And I said to myself, Dorothy, you're getting up there. You just should take a shot. And if it's not going to work, you'll stop. You won't finish the book. You'll just start and then you'll say, it's not working. So I started. I bought myself a little recorder, a digital recorder, and I would go in and I would sit with these women.
Mm.
Sometimes it lasted 3, 4, 5 months over a period of time. We would meet every week. Sometimes not because they had other engagements or were hospitalized in some cases for periods of time. So it was broken up. But eventually, I got the stories, and it was just fascinating what came out. At the beginning, they didn't know me that well, so they were holding back a little bit. But by the end, oh my goodness, I was getting everything. And sometimes they would even say to me, shut off the recorder. I want to tell you something. So I got into a lot of inner stories about these women. So that's how it all sort of came about. And each of them is unique, very different. If you read the book, you'll see their stories are totally different. Three of them are immigrants, two of them are Holocaust survivors, and others came from backgrounds that you would never dream would have produced the kinds of people that they became.
Mhm.
And the through line of all of this was their courage, their willingness to take risks, to go after what they believed in, to take chances, which so many of us hold back on. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is because I wanted people to see through their life stories how these people started, some of them over and over and over again in different situations, in different places, but always with courage and conviction.
No, unbelievable role models for all of us, for sure, especially in these times, I have to say. Dorothy, for the sake of time, as we scroll through and hear a little bit about these five women, just a little bit about each, and then we'll continue our overall conversation. So, just a little snapshot. I know there's so much more to hear about everybody, but Maria Brisk, just a little bit and perhaps highlighting the quote as we go.
Oh, the quote is terrific because she knew it would be very difficult, but she decided to do it anyway. That was Maria's whole story. Maria was raised in a very aristocratic Argentinian family, very traditional. Women were kept at home until they got married. She wanted no part of it. She left there. She went to the United States, got a degree, and eventually became a world-renowned expert
Mhm.
in linguistics
Yeah.
that was teaching children how to read and write, especially immigrant children, children for whom English was a second language. Um, just determined. She invented not podcasts, Zoom lessons,
Mm.
and today she teaches Afghani refugees who are in Bangladesh, graduate students who are trying to learn her process of foundational linguistics. So she's an amazing lady.
Oh, very much so, very much so. A few words about Miss Myers.
Hani is exceptional in every way. She was born in Vienna and lived under the Nazi occupation of Austria for about 6 months as an 8-year-old. And then they emigrated. Her father was prescient enough to get them out of Austria in 1938. and they came to Brighton. She grew up in Brighton. Hani is a Renaissance lady, as they all are. She is a mountaineer. She has done 140 hikes in the White Mountains, and she climbed Mount Everest up to the halfway point, 12,700 feet high, when she was 82 years old,
Wow.
staying in Sherpa villages with latrines and all kinds of challenges. And it was very hard for her to do that. But she was determined to do that. And she did it. Honey plays ping pong. She takes ping pong lessons. She's was a voice teacher at BC. She started her own opera company. She's done a lot. And today she talks to students about her experience
Mm.
as living under the Nazis. She talks to middle and high school students about that. She feels that is extremely important because there aren't too many left. She's 95 now. There aren't
Wow.
too many left doing that kind of thing.
Mm. What an incredibly rich life. And Louise,
Louise unfortunately passed away about a year ago. So I interviewed her first, and I was fortunate enough to get her story. Her children were very helpful to me. Louise was born in the Midwest and came from an artistic family, but when she married Sev, who was a sociology teacher at BC, he sort of radicalized her politically, and she became very aware of nuclear disarmament and particularly the war in Vietnam, which was raging at the time. She walked from her home in Newton to Washington, D.C., 40 days by herself. She
yeah.
was joined by people from time to time, but basically she wanted to do it by herself to protest the war in Vietnam.
Mhm.
And then she went to Vietnam just before Saigon fell and demonstrated in front of the embassy because we were still funding the South Vietnamese government and she was against that. So she was a really a woman of her own conviction and determination. And she founded Green Newton, which is was called the Green Generation when she started it. It's over 35 years old now, and it's
Wow.
still going strong. She was the founder of this environmental organization in Newton. So she's extraordinary, and I love her dearly.
Hmm. Thank you for telling our story. And Miss Mintz, a few words, please.
Oh, Shlomit, Shlomit. Shlomit was born in Hungary under the Nazis. She had a very rough childhood. She also lived under the communists, and she eventually escaped Hungary, was smuggled out of Hungary by a Zionist organization to go to Israel and help build the state in 1949. Her journey out of Hungary to Israel is breathtaking. And that's the beginning of my story about Shlomit. What she went through, what they went through, and the daring, and the fact that she left her family and didn't think she'd ever see any of them again. She chose at the age of 17 to do this, and she did it.
Mhm.
Shlomit is a woman who's made her life over and over and over again. She lived on a kibbutz in Israel for a while, got married there, had a child there. They moved to Boston. No, they moved. Yes, it was Boston. It was Mattapan.
Mhm.
And then they moved to Newton. But all her life was a struggle to just survive and learn new languages and adjust to new environments. And she is a real, her philosophy is there are people who don't believe in miracles, and there are others for whom everything is a miracle.
Mm.
I am one of those people, and she is. She has the
Mm.
most positive attitude I have ever seen in the face of a lot of illness that she's facing right now.
And what a fabulous quote for all of us to keep with us. The last person you highlighted, Sally.
Sally Craig. Sally Craig was born in Baltimore, but they moved to Asheville. She was raised by an Episcopal minister's family. Um, who would have ever dreamed that Sally Craig would become a world-renowned expert on healthcare management and women's contraception and AIDS prevention and women's health? And she worked in so many different areas. Her resume was so thick, I couldn't even get through it. But Sally Craig, her quote is really what Sally Craig is all about. She never said no to an opportunity. She lived in almost 40 countries around the world doing lived in or worked for 40 countries, lived for several years in Bangladesh, lived for several years in Afghanistan, and worked as a healthcare management also in Nigeria, devising healthcare management systems for those countries. She's just keeps going great guns today. She's involved in this new place that she moved to, which is an independent living facility, where she was selected to do a whole survey of all the members to see how they could improve and change the community based on her skill sets of interviewing and writing and listening. She's a good listener. Sally Craig is an extraordinary woman.
I think you're an extremely good listener by getting at these incredible stories. What do you hope readers take with them after they've had the opportunity to read the book, Dorothy?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that I'd like people to take with them. First of all, how you can age with dignity and grace and grit and still have a rich life, even though you have deficits and setbacks. One of the through lines of these women is also they have networks of friends. They're all extremely connected. And that's another thing I would hope people would realize is so important. And that's one of the things Newton at Home does is connect people to each other. And if you live alone, it can be difficult. All of these women are widowed right now, and they live alone.
Mhm.
And yet they're not alone. So I was hoping that they would how to age with grace, how to face problems during life and push through, and how to have a network and community.
Terrific. Well, so glad that you took the risk and went ahead and put this wonderful volume together. Congratulations again on such an inspiring work. And just unbelievable to think that these are just five of who knows how many other stories that cross Newton at Home. Unbelievable.
I could
Um,
probably write about 40 other people.
and
I'm
it's
sure if you delve into their stories,
definitely,
what you
definitely.
find is amazing.
Oh, and you did an extraordinary job doing that. Alex, in the couple of minutes we have left, can you give viewers a sense of current and upcoming programs and events?
Sure. So this year is actually Newton at Home's 15th anniversary. So
Mm,
we are in the midst right now of planning some sort of big special event, a special celebration for that milestone, which will be some point in early May. We're still hammering out the details, but we'll certainly notify people when once that becomes a little bit more formalized. We also are very excited to announce that we got a charity bib for the marathon this year, and
mm.
one of our own staff members, Kathy Wong, who's just amazing. We're so lucky to have her, and she's running for us. And we're just trying to plan all sorts of new things. We do a lot of museum trips. We do trips to the theater. We just started a new program series with the 92nd Street Y. Just trying to do whatever we can to get people engaged. And like I said, we're a membership organization and we're really member led. So anybody who joins, we try to build our programming around what our people are actually interested in and want to see and want to learn and hear about and create opportunities that are exciting and engaging and really will get people to want to come out of their homes if they can and interact with us.
What's the process of becoming a member?
So if anybody is interested, so it's for anybody in Newton who is 60 or older.
Mhm.
Um, if you go on our website, which is just www.newtonathome.org, then on there should be a drop down that's you can submit a membership inquiry, and then that will come to us, and then I will reach out to you, and we'll chat a bit, learn a bit about each other, and then anybody who thinks they're interested in proceeding, I'll just schedule a home visit to come by, get to know them in
Mm.
person. Since we're a small organization and because we are so much focused on social interaction, we really try to get to know all of our people, really build those personal connections. And then that's basically it. It's a pretty easy, straightforward process.
Mhm. And where are you located?
So our office is located in the Scandinavian Living Center in West
Mhm.
Newton, and a lot of our programs and events we hold there, but we do other things as well. Like in addition to what I mentioned, we every month we'll do dining clubs at local restaurants and go
Mm.
on hikes and at local trails. So we kind of runs the gamut in terms of what we do. And one other thing I want to add is that we are always looking for volunteers, especially for transportation. So if anybody in the community would like to help out your neighbors and are looking for, a way to spend your time, please reach out to us. We are super flexible. There's no particular commitment in terms of time. It's
Mm.
really just around each person's schedule and what they would be willing to give. And we would be so happy to have help wherever anybody could offer it.
Wonderful way to end. Speaking of ending, just want to thank both of you again for taking the time to be here, for sharing Alex Newton at home, and for Dorothy for letting us know what you put together with Women in Courage of Courage and Conviction. Continued success for both of you with future endeavors.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And if anybody wants to read Dorothy's book, you can get a copy of it again through our website. Or I think also Newtonville Books might have some as well.
There's
Wonderful.
also a display at the library
That's
in
true.
the windows near where you return books in that area. There's a big display on the book there.
Oh, fabulous. As
So
we
we're very
know,
excited about that.
lots of foot traffic in the library for
Hmm.
sure, for sure. Look forward to gazing at actually later today when I make my way to the library.
Oh, please
So
do,
There you go.
Jay.
thanks again to both of you. And I also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.